Oh no, things are falling already. This was a mistake. Hey, hey, hey. I have a list. I have a list with everything written out. So I'm only going to slightly be off track. Also, I think my toilet was still flushing in the background during all of that clip. Hey everybody, and welcome to my fantasy goals for the second quarter of 2019. So this is basically a TBR that's going to focus entirely on fantasy books. But instead of saying this is my TBR for the second quarter, I'm going to call it fantasy goals because one, every book that I'm going to talk about today is a fantasy book, and two, it's a fantasy that I'm going to get all of these books read within the next quarter. Oh good, you're here. You never cease to show up whenever I'm about to sit down and film a long video. So let's get settled. So I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail about these books because one, I have like 30 something books here to talk about, so that's a lot. And two, I don't know a huge amount about a lot of them. Most of them, I'm just like, this is a fantasy book that I've heard good things about, so I want to read it. And that's all that I want to know at this point. Like, I like going into books blind. I'm going to put that pencil down because it's already super distracting. So I think this should be a relatively quick video. I've got all of my books piled up here. I've also got some books that I'm planning on checking out from the library over the next few months. And we're just going to go through this. Oh, Kitty's gone. Bye, Kitty. It's good visiting. Okay. Oh, no, don't fall. Please stay. So I am still on track on reading a Wheel of Time book a month, and that will allow me to finish the series by the end of the year, minus New Spring. New Spring is the prequel, and that's not actually in the schedule, but it's possible that if I end up reading ahead, especially once I get to the end of the series, and that's more and more likely, that I will also like just kind of sneak that one in somewhere and get that one read this year as well. But right now the plan is to stick to a book a month, which means that over the next 3 months I will be reading Book 6, Lord of Chaos, Book 7, A Crown of Swords, and Book 8, The Path of Daggers. There's so much glare happening right now. So from what I understand, Book 6 is when the series really starts to get terrible. Not terrible per se, but it definitely goes down in quality from like Book 6 to Book 10 is the general consensus that I'm getting from the interwebs. So that will be fun. I also plan on finishing the Harry Potter books by the end of the year. I read the first 4 in high school, but I never continued on beyond that. So I'm going to reread those first 4 and actually finish the series, and I'm hoping to have that done by the end of the year. But over the next few months, I hope to get to Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban. And yeah, I mean, it's Harry Potter, so you probably know what's up with that. What else do I want to talk about? Let's talk about some Arthurian legend. Why don't we? I want to read Mary Stuart's Merlin trilogy. I think that's what it's called. The first one's The Crystal Cave, and I really want to read that because it's one that my mom like really recommends to me and praises quite a bit. So that was one of the first ones that I knew that I wanted to get to when I started reading all kinds of Arthurian legend books. Hi. And then also I hope to get to The Forest House by Marion Zimmer Bradley. This is the prequel to The Mists of Avalon, which I adored, and hopefully this will be just as good. Okay, so I'm going to show a lot of my shame in this particular fantasy goals episode because there's some heavy hitters that I haven't read yet, and I hope against hope that I'm going to get these done over the next quarter, but I have yet to complete The Lord of the Rings. I'm counting this as one book. It's a 1-volume edition, so hey. That I've read the first part to. I've read The Fellowship of the Ring. I never read beyond that. It's my brother's absolute favorite, and the fact that I haven't read it yet is kind of absurd to me. I've read The Hobbit, and I've read Fellowship of the Ring, but that's not enough for me to continually be like, oh, I read fantasy books all the time, and I still haven't read all of The Lord of the Rings. Another shame that I have is the fact that I haven't read anything by Brandon Sanderson. I know I am a hack, I'm a fraud. What am I doing on YouTube talking about fantasy books? But this is, it just says Mistborn, but it's The Final Empire, which is the first in the Mistborn saga, I guess is what we will call it now. And yeah, this seems like a good starting place, and I want to rate it and probably read everything else by Brandon Sanderson if he's even close to as good as I'm hearing he is. An author that I have not shied away from reading, though, is Neil Gaiman. Anansi Boys is the only owned book that I have by him that I haven't yet read. So, I gotta get to this one, right? Gotta get to that one. I own like 3 copies of American Gods, and I haven't read Anansi Boys yet. And then a big inspiration to Neil Gaiman. Look at all of these segues that are happening. This is great. The Shadow of the Torturer by Gene Wolfe. I lucked out and found this entire, what is it called? Like the Book of the Sun? Is that what this series is called? The Book of the New Sun. I was so close. But I just lucked out and found all of them at a flea market for a really good price and bought them all and still haven't read any of them. But they're not long. Like, there's no reason why I haven't read these yet. And then maintaining classics. Fritz Lieber's Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. I've read the first one, which is the Sword of Deviltry, I want to say. I would love to get to. Let me look at my list. Swords Against Death, and then maybe Swords in the Mist. So those would be the first 3 of the Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser books that I would have read. But I've read the first one, so I'm not completely, like, hopeless there. So let's throw some middle grade in there. You know I love my middle grade fantasy. The Thickety, A Path Begins. I actually own the first 3 in this. I want to say it's a quartet. It is one that was highly recommended by a girl when I was just asking kind of for fantasy recommendations, and she was just like, dude, read these. I also want to get to the Subtle Knife, which is book 2 in his Dark Materials. I read the first one in January during my 30 and 30, so I would like to continue on with that trilogy and get that one read. I've also never read the whole Percy Jackson series. I've read The Lightning Thief, but I would like to reread The Lightning Thief and get to the Sea of Monsters in the next quarter and try to get some progress done on that series, because that's another one that, like, people in my family really, really love. Like, my nephew loves those books, and I would like to be able to discuss them with him. And then this is just one of those books that I feel like has been on my shelf for too long, but this is Furthermore by Tahereh Mafi, and I know literally nothing about it, but God, this cover, man, and fox. I mean, that's really, if you've got a gorgeous cover and there's a fox on it, then yeah, I'm gonna buy your book. How do I still have this many books to talk about? Like, I have a stack here that's, it's dangerously precarious. Okay, I'm just gonna throw this one in here. I might end up reading quite a bit more Terry Pratchett over the next quarter than just this one, but I'm gonna throw in Equal Rights because it's the next one in the publication order that I'm trying to read through. So Equal Rights, I'm definitely gonna get to this one, maybe more of Terry Pratchett over the next quarter. But this was an easy, like, that's happening book. So the next few books are books that I'm planning on checking out from the library, probably doing the audiobook route on all of these, except for Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. I actually own the audiobook for this one, and I've heard repeatedly, do not listen to the audiobook. So I think I'm actually going to read that one. I've really heard that it's specifically like the opening scene. There's something about the opening scene that the way it's written, it does not translate to audiobook well. So, yeah, but Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. It is about assassins, like a chick assassin. That's all I know specifically, but, you know, I like Arya Stark, so I feel like if it's anything like just more Arya Stark, then that's all I really need. I would also like to get... Every time I go to say this, I want to say I would like to get into the Drowning Deep. And that is, it's not redundant, but it sounds redundant. But I would like to get into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, which I think is also Shannon McGuire. Or, no, is it, that other girl, the girl that did the bone suit, is that also Shannon McGuire? That may also be Shannon McGuire. I feel like I need to look that up now. What? Hold on. Okay, update. It is Shannon McGuire, and Samantha Shannon wrote the Bone season. So now we're all caught up. But yeah, I would like to get to Into the Drowning Deep. That's, I think, supposed to be like a siren story or a mermaid story or something to do with fantasy water creatures. And I've heard it's really good and, like, really dark. His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. I know nothing about this. I assume dragons are involved, but I don't know. For some reason, I own Spinning Silver, and I have the audiobook for Uprooted. So I have those two Naomi Novik books, but for some reason, His Majesty's Dragon, I just feel like I'm going to like more. Based on what little bit I know, based on what other people are saying, but I know nothing about that book. Like, I know way more about Spinning Silver and Uprooted, but I feel like I really want to read His Majesty's Dragon way more than those books. I also really want to get to The Last Wish by, Sapkowski? Andrei Sapkowski? That doesn't seem right. But, I listened to the pronunciation multiple times, and I still don't feel like I'm anywhere closer to being able to actually pronounce that. So that's as good as you're gonna get. But that's the first in the Witcher series, which is a series that I've been wanting to read for a while. I played the first video game. And I know they have almost nothing to do with each other, but the books I've been wanting to get to for so long, and it's time. It has to happen. And then I also want to get to Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. This is a Japanese-inspired fantasy. I've heard it's very much a traveling story, and it pulls a lot. Like, it's super animus, which I'm down for. I'm ready for that in my life. Okay, we're going to take a break from this list for a second, and we're going to talk about some more books that I have on the couch. This is the most disorganized thing I'm not going to say that I've ever done, because I've done way more disorganized things than this. But this is one of the more disorganized things that I've ever done. So I think I'm just going to kind of rapid fire through what I have left on the couch. Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. I own a lot of Anne Rice books, and I don't think I have ever read Anne Rice. So, Interview with the Vampire seemed like the logical place to start. I like vampires. I like Anne Rice, apparently. Blood Song by Anthony Ryan. Literally nothing. I know nothing about this, but it comes up so frequently in fantasy recommendations. And this is one of those books that I bought when I was buying books like crazy. I'm sure I got this for like $0.25. And I was just buying books like crazy without knowing anything about them. And this is one of those books that I didn't realize I owned. Like, it came up on fantasy recommendations all the time. And then one day I was looking at my shelf and I was just like, wait, is that the book that everybody says is fantastic? And yeah, it is. And I didn't realize that I owned it. So I should probably read it, right? It's the first of a series, and that's all I know. It's supposed to be really good, though. I also want to get to Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shannon McGuire. Look, hey, I read, Every Heart a Doorway. That's the first one, right? I read that one, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I have this one, and then I have the next one, Beneath the Sugar Sky. I think this is actually, no, Beneath the Sugar Sky may be the prequel. And I think this one is about, like, a couple of the characters that go into one of the other worlds. So yeah, but this should be a really fast read, so maybe it won't hinder my ability to finish this TBR, Fantasy Goals TBR, too badly. Cersei by Madeline Miller. I've heard a lot of really good things about this. I've actually heard some negative things about this, especially the fact that people kind of went into this thinking it was going to be more of a feminist story than it really ended up being. But I've still heard like really great things about it, and I do enjoy me some Greek mythology, so get into this one. Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. I don't know a whole lot about this. It's part of a series. They're in like the Witchlands, and this girl, your protagonist, I guess, has some kind of power that involves truth, like being able to tell when people are telling the truth or lie, or being able to force people to tell the truth, something along those lines. But yeah, this is another one that I just feel like has been on my shelf for too long, and I need to get to it. The Tiger's Daughter by, I did not, K. Arsenault Rivera. K. Arsenault. Nault is the thing that I'm having trouble with. But this one made quite a bit of buzz a while ago because it features a queer romance between two females. And yeah, I'm all about that. And yes. I feel like every time I lift up a book, I'm just like, yes, I want to read this. And that's duh. Okay, I said that, and then this one I'm not sure I want to read. But I went ahead and put Lyriel on this because I'm trying really hard to get through Sabriel. Sabriel, I'm so close to being finished with, and I need to pick this one up and give it a shot. I may not finish this, but I need to give it a shot and just see if I need to like give up on this series, because the first one I'm not really enjoying, and this one's quite a bit thicker. So we're gonna see if I get along with this one a little bit better. So I had all of that, and then I did one final sweep through Libby to see if there was anything else. And there's indeed 3 more books that I'm going to just tack on at the end. I really want to get to these books. Like, it was just an oversight, and I really want to get to these books, and would probably prioritize these books over other books that I've already discussed. But the 3 books that I'm going to end this video on are Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. This is the first book in the Gentleman Bastard series, and it's all about heists, and I've heard that the relationships are great, and it's something that I need to get to. I own it on Audible, so there's no reason for me not to get to this other than the fact that time is a thing that I have only a certain amount of because I haven't figured out how to manipulate it yet. I'm working on it. The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. This is again one that I know like nothing about, but it's made a huge amount of buzz, and for some reason I've just decided that I need to read it. And then finally, the last book that I am going to attempt to read in the next quarter is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I have not read any Robin Hobb, and I need to fix that. So let's see what I've tasked myself with. So 3 Wheel of Time books, 2 Harry Potter books, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 33 for sure. So that's what, 11 books a month? Like, I feel like that's still doable for me. I mean, I read 30 books in a single month, so 33 books over 3 months, but I would probably pretty much exclusively have to read these. And I know myself well enough to know that I will get distracted and want to read other things, or something will catch my attention and I'll just forget about all of this. But I have it all listed out. We're going to try to get through as many of these as possible, and then come, late June, I'll film a Fantasy Goals video for the 3rd quarter of 2019, and I'll just be shamed about all of the books that I didn't get to in the 2nd quarter. But yeah, 33 books in 3 months. I mean, it looks intimidating as the pile that I have here, and I know that this pile isn't comprehensive either, because there's several that I'm going to have to get from the library, but still, when I just hear the number 33, I feel like you can do it. You can do it. If I end up destroying this, then I'm going to have to raise the bar in my fantasy goals, because the whole idea is that there's no way I should be able to finish all of these books. My hair's doing that thing again where it sticks straight out, so now I'm going to fix it so I can close this video. So these are the fantasy books that I want to get to in the next quarter. I have probably many other books that I'm going to try to get to over the next few months as well. Let me know what's on your TBR, what you're most excited to get to, and let me know if you want to try to read any of these books with me, because that would be fun. I'm going to have to reshelve all of these now. I'm not even sure where I got some of these books from. Circe by